America CONMEBOL 2024 in USA. We are with head coach Jaime Lozano and player Edson Alvarez from the Mexican national team. Before starting the conference, please remember you cannot broadcast live or record with your cell phone. And remember, you can download the conference through the QR codes that are exhibited in the room. Please, if you want to ask a question, raise your hand and wait for the microphone. Please also introduce yourselves and the media outlet. Good afternoon. Jaime Edson, Juan Carlos Ibarrarán, W, Radio Deportes Mexico. Jaime, this is a question for you. After coaching the national team for a year, aren't you tired from hearing all the questioning regarding your stay with the national team or not? Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, well, actually, no, Juan Carlos. Was it Juan Carlos? Yes. Um, when you are focused on what you have to do and you know what your goals are, what your expected outcomes, you concentrate on that. I am focused on helping the players to be clear in the field to achieve all the outcomes we want to achieve as a federation, as a national team. And most of my energy is dedicated to that, analyzing matches, players, opponents, everything that is required from me as the coach of a national team. So uh, we always mention this. It's very important to being the head coach of a national team in countries such as ours, but I have to do my job. And of course, I think we can tilt the scale once we achieve better results. Jaime Edson, Valentina Peña for Radio Colombia. Jaime, in the last friendlies, you played against South American national teams, and we didn't get positive results. For Neil against Uruguay, for instance, do you think the gap is getting wider between CONCACAF and CONMEBOL? And Edson, in particular, against Brazil, the defense suffered a lot. What do you think you have to do to improve in that aspect, taking into account the speed of Jamaican players? Good afternoon. Well, of course, uh, it was a painful defeat against Brazil. But if you look back on that game, they didn't reach the box that much. And the second half, I think it took us some time to adapt on the first half, but I think we responded well afterwards. It was painful, of course, because we lost, but we have to improve in every sense. And in that game, I played as a center back, and Cesar Montes wasn't recovered to 100% yet. But I think as from tomorrow, we'll have a completely different scenario depending on the lineup chosen by Jaime, and we will be uh, very willing to play. And well, I think the football has become global. There are national teams that are very strong, that are doing things very well, that have uh, great players in great leagues abroad. But well, Colombia, I think, is the one that is on a row because we were 2-0, and then they turned it around. And with Uruguay, uh, they they were very aggressive, and they always collect when you make mistakes. And in the case of Brazil, it's the same. And they also had their match against US, and they were able to reach the box many times. I don't know if it was because of the system, the game plan, but it is not an excuse. But those matches, to me, to us, uh, we had to analyze the players against the opponents, uh, high rated opponents. And we are doing that. We are analyzing our resources and trying. Of course, Canada played very well against the world champions. So this is football. You have to try to reduce the mistakes and seize every opportunity. Most of it is defined in the boxes, so you have to stand well. Hello, Edson. Good afternoon, Jaime. Edson, a question for you first. I think it's an important match for you tomorrow. You are the captain of our national team, but this is an international major event, Copa America. What does it mean for you to wear the armband? And have you heard the rumors about the Manchester United being interested in you? Does that ring a bell? Does that motivate you as a football player? Hi, Jobrand. Well, as you are mentioning, I am with my hopes up. My entire career, professional career, I feel it went very fast, but I feel very responsible. I have dreamt about this, but now I am here and it makes it different. And for sure, I'm really excited to kick off our opener, to hear our national anthem in front of the crowd, and it gives me the goosebumps. Of course, you always can hear rumors on this season of transfers, but I'm really focused on what I have to do. I know Copa America is a very important tournament. All eyes are on us. And of course, there will be time to think about other things. But right now, I am fully concentrated on this great responsibility and what we have ahead. Jaime, these 13 days that you had as from Brazil's match until tomorrow, I imagine that, well, you had some time to work with the national team, and that is something we always require, we demand. Were you able to work on your game plan? Well, that is true. We have in every national team, you have very little time to prepare and compete. But we have tried to make the best of it. We looked for it against Uruguay, against Brazil. We had some points on which we wanted to work and improve and prioritize, because we think that by working on them, we can achieve victories. So hopefully tomorrow we'll win, taking into account the foundations that we already built against Brazil. Edson Enrique Martinez from Multimedios. You were just mentioning the armband and the responsibility that entails. What did you learn from other captains like Rafa Marquez, Guarrado, Ochoa, in order to lead this roster now that is feeling the pressure given the outcomes from the last World Cup? Enrique, well, in these few years that I've played for the national team, I was lucky enough to play with Rafa Marquez. He is my role model. Andres, Ochoa, and Moreno Herrera. They have been great players and role models to me. Of course, you learn a little bit from each. And what I want to do now is provide support to my teammates, back them up. We have a lot of young players and they want to transcend, and we are collectively liable. I am wearing the armband, but we are 26 players plus the coaching staff. and we all have the same goal. Hopefully, results will come, and we will give our best for that purpose. Good afternoon, Enzo Jaime, Lisuerto Martinez, Univision 45. Question for both of you. One for Jaime. In this very same setback, you started as a head coach as for the national team. What does it mean for you to be back in Houston? And what you mentioned about Hector Herrera, what did you learn from him, Edson? In particular, from Hector Herrera? Well, he wore the armband a few times when I was playing. He was one of the captains, and I learned about closely marking players, and actually I learned about being close with my teammates, and he was very joyful, and that was positive for the entire team. It was tough back then to approach a captain, and that is now in the past, and I learned that from him, to being close with the other players and to inject joyfulness in the team. Well, the illusion, the emotion, everything goes by so fast. An year went by, and of course, this is special being here this summer for the tournament, but every day that goes by, I convince myself that this is the best place where I want to be, and I want to seize every moment and to the extent possible enjoy with the coaching staff and with the players, because sometimes when you are in the moment you don't really realize it, and uh, it's only a minute, like Edson Pinta. uh, Maybe 20 years it's a lot, but most of us are here for very little time, so we need to make an experience out of it. Edson, Jaime, Aldo Quiroz, Freo Deportes. Edson, you talk about improvements, and you are facing two title contenders for Copa America. What do you think should be improved as a group and individually? And Jaime, one of the strengths of the national team Mexico is being the home team. And against Uruguay, we saw a part of the crowd being a bit angry with the team, and sometimes they start um, chanting against us. What is your message to the fan base to have them root for us unconditionally? Well, we're not playing against two major national teams, it's three. I think favorites are in the past now. All national teams, all players prepare to the fullest to compete. So I would say these are three very strong national teams. As a group, I think we are very united now, and there's a great vibe. And it was a long wait for the tournament to begin. So, of course, we're very eager for it to start and to show ourselves what we're capable of. And we are not happy with what we showed against Uruguay. Then we improved a little bit against Brazil, uh, even after the defeat. But I think we're doing well individually, and each player has to see what his weaknesses are to improve, and uh, we can always boost each other and push each other to improve. We, as I mentioned, are very happy. We are very eager for the kickoff, and we'll give our best. Aldo, I agree. I don't know if you were present in that match. The outcome wasn't the expected one. Of course, the fan base will not be happy, but this tournament is very expected, not only by us but also by the fan. We know that the three matches in the group phase are important, and that more than 180 million people will be supporting us from the stadiums, their homes, this country, our country, other countries. And I want to thank them for their support. And of course, we want to ask them for their full support, their unconditional support. And at the Azteca Stadium, we had a goal by Edson, the goal of Memo against Brazil in the last minute. We never know when we'll have the last minute goal that will give us a victory or at least a draw. So please, we want to ask for their support because it gives us great illusion when we see how our fans look at their role models, their idols. That fills us with energy. So we really want to have their support that they have always shown in 99 out of 100 minutes. Hernandez from Fox Sports. This national team has been criticized for the results, for maybe the strategies, for the reaction or lack thereof in matches. Are you here to silence everyone in this tournament? Hello, Carlos. Um, since I uh, started with the national team, the history repeats itself, and now we are only focused on what we have to do. We're not here to silence anyone or to prove anyone wrong. We just want to show ourselves where we can get, what we're capable of, and we are going to face uh, great opponents. And that motivates me to compete, to see who I am as a player. And if I'm defeated, I find room for improvement. And if I lose, or if I lose and if I win, it's the same. It's a self-assessment by each player, but the commitment is undertaken with oneself, with the players, with the national team. But I think this is not about proving people wrong. It's about going jointly towards one goal. We are Mexico. We are, and I hope that we all tread on the same path. I fully agree with Edson. He's been here longer than me. Of course, we would love to see that. We have to do our job. We have to give everything on the pitch, trying to get the results. And the opponents are very important to us. And I will say this after Uruguay, Brazil, or whomever. If we have the possibility of, well, in the World Cup, maybe we can play against Germany, Brazil, Uruguay. I will always prefer that. And learning, because that is when you learn the most. You measure yourself up against the best, and I prefer to get to a World Cup in that way rather than uh, getting there without facing the best opponents. I don't want to have any glass ceiling. Thank you very much. Hello, Edson. Miguel Ángel Mujica from Periódico Esto. I want to ask about former players and other fans that think that there are no leaders in this group. What would you say to them? I don't have much to say. I have never heard about those rumors, or I think other players have uh, been seated here, and maybe they can answer that question. I don't have anything to say to that. Jaime Sol, do you have the definite lineup? Do you think about it overnight? And this is a completely different tournament, but it's on in these days that you've been with your teammates, that you had dinner together. What do you think is the goal, the ultimate goal for this national team? Well, as I was mentioning, it wasn't a long run up or an extense period for all. Some for some, yes, and we've channeled that energy with a positive outlook, and we have objectives. We have short, mid, long term objectives. On the short term, we want to move on to the next stage, and then why not be among the top four? And of course, uh, whomever is seated right here will always want to win the America's Cup. So we're going to go step by step. The team is doing great. We have a lot of young players. I don't know if I still classify as a young player or not, but we have a great level of energy. We want to learn, and we want to give Mexico this thing we're missing, the joy we're missing, and joy that is very well deserved by Mexican people. Last two questions. Good afternoon, Jimmy. Sorry, the lineup. Yes, were you going to talk about the starters? Yes, no. Is yes, of course, Felipe. I think it's run second to the World Cup. We're not always invited, but it's the most beautiful tournament, and I am almost finally decided on the lineup. Well, you already know it, right? We apologize from the booth. We're not able to receive the sound from the microphones. Jimmy, I have one doubt. Edson was talking about goals. Mexico was very clear on the fact that these tournament would give us more material and information in the run up to the World Cup. Do you have different lineups for Jamaica, Venezuela to test the largest number of players as possible? What is your impression on this? Thank you, Jimmy. Well, of course, we have to play with the players we deem are at their best. We will take the lessons learned in against Uruguay and Brazil. In those cases, we had rotation because of the players that were coming from Europe with less rest days. But as Edson was mentioning, we're not here only to participate. We want to win. We have clear objectives and collective objectives. And our aim is to always play with the best lineup possible. Edson Jaime Hol Morales from Clore Sports. Edson, you are a young leader, but a leader for this national team with an important track record in Europe. Have you approached your teammates to explain what this means playing in Copa America? And for Jaime, was it difficult to find the starting 11? Because sometimes the head coaches uh, decide on particular features of what they've shown on the training. Good afternoon. Yes, of course, in this short time that I've been in this role, that has been my main objective, approaching my teammates and explaining and understanding how they feel, what triggers them, and it's a part of it. You need to talk to them. Sometimes we know that you don't have the same level of trust with a coach or with a teammate, but in my case, it's still a great place to be showcased. Even when I'm already in Europe, European clubs like Latin American and South American clubs, so they have an eye on us, and I think that the collective success will draw the attention of European clubs. Well, you first choose the players based on what you think you will be able to execute on the field, and I always make modifications. uh, Sometimes there's more rotation in one position than other, but you have doubts, and Edson will never say this, but I will say it for him. Edson, uh, he, even if he is not wearing the armband, he has the vibe, and he can always support his teammates. He is always boosting them, and he brings all the knowledge from the clubs where he has played. To me, it's amazing to uh, have a player like him. He has a level of focus and a level of concentration, and whatever you ask from him, he does perfectly. So that is why he is where he is, and I'm sure he will continue moving forward, and it's very related to the type of player he is. uh, he's not the young player I played against when he was in America, and he was already a great player. What was your name? He was 280 or something. He was such a great player, and I saw it back then. And now he is so much better, and that is what he does every day, and it has a great influence on all his teammates. Good afternoon, Edson, Jaime. Edson first. In line with Jaime's answer of uh, your personality, we discussed this in San Diego. Everyone's talking about the type of leader you are, the captain you are in and out the field. Do you have an example you could share with us of a message you might have conveyed to your teammates, given your experience in clubs and in other clubs? And Jaime, uh, we understand that, of course, the result is more important than competing, but what about the execution of the game plan that was practiced in the working days or working sessions? What should we see tomorrow to say this is what Jaime Lozano was after? Well, I can share a specific example with you. After the match against Uruguay, it was very important, as Jaime mentioned as well, to see, well, we had Guameru, Victor Guzman, and we have very young players. And uh, we looked as if we were mourning, it looked as awake, the locker room. So I talked to each one of them, and Atala, our goalkeeper, was having his debut match, and it's tough to concede 4 goals. And I approached him and I congratulated him because it is an amazing achievement to have a debut, and I did that with him and with the back line. And I don't see it as a responsibility. It is part of my essence. And it is as Jaime mentioned. This is not because I wear an armband now. It's always been my essence, always been supported. And I think they can see a role model in me because sometimes uh, you don't understand what's going on at the time, but in hindsight, it's clear. Well, what we need to see a clear mindset. We need to find a protagonist. You need to what to do when the opponent takes the ball, what to do when you don't have the ball, how to defend. Having a clean sheet would be great, but also to defend in the right way. Uh, to concede very few chances and to be well protected from the counterattacks, that the ones that we saw against Uruguay, or when open spaces. So I would like to see clarity in the team with the ball possession, and regardless of Jamaica, because I think they're a great team. They have great players, and they have a great genes and fitness level. And I think that if you're not capable of countering their attack, they can be very effective. So clarity, protagonism, and solid in the defense. This is the end of the press conference.